The first of the wonders of water that we want to consider is that ice floats. Now, every kid knows this who has grown up, filled a glass full of water, dropped in an ice cube, and it floats. This is, you'd say, this is not really a wonder, but the wonder is you could go to the stockroom of Ivy Tech, St. Mary's, ISU, Rose-Hulman, get all the liquids off of there and cool them down. They will freeze, but in every case, the solid will start from the bottom up and not the top down. So this itself makes water unique. Now, even more unique and wonderful, I guess, is that I have a friend who has a pond out in Putnam County, and the Department of Natural Resources came to him and said, "Hey, would you like us to stock your pond?" And he said, "Sure." So they brought out bluegill and crappies and bass, and then catfish that had been sterilized so they couldn't reproduce. But the Department of Natural Resources says this will keep duckweed and other things from growing on your pond. But if ice really started from the bottom and came up, then the catfish would die and all the biota would die. So water is the only liquid that the solid floats and doesn't start from the bottom up. The second wonder of water that I want to consider is what we call surface tension. Now, surface tension is nothing that you talk to your friends about. Probably, if you talk in a conversation with your friends, you might talk about the weather, about sports, about your job, whatever, but nobody knows. What in the world is surface tension? Well, surface tension is where the properties of water as a liquid and the properties of water on the surface, the air-water surface, are different. And probably you have seen at some point, been to a pond and seen spiders just skimming across the surface. Well, that's surface tension that allows that spider to do that. Now, this can be demonstrated fairly easily because this surface tension gives rise to a phenomenon known as capillary rise. So here, this shows, I have here this little apparatus, and it's just water with blue food coloring, and you'll notice that the water is the highest in the smallest capillary, next to highest in the bigger one, and the highest in the biggest one. What this means, this is all a part of surface tension, and that water rises the smaller the capillary, and in fact, water has the highest surface tension of any liquid. You could go again to all those four universities and colleges in Terre Haute, get liquids off of the shelf and measure the surface tension. Water by far has the highest surface tension. This is probably easier to demonstrate. I have taken two bud vases here, and the one to my left and your right, it just has celery down in water. The one to the right on my side just has purple food coloring in it, and I put the celery down in, and in a day and a half, all of the leaves have turned purple. This is due to the property of surface tension, and water has the highest surface tension of any liquid that you could find in any of the stock rooms of any of the schools in Terre Haute. So I call that the second wonder of water. The third wonder of water is that it will dissolve more substances than any other liquid. In fact, you've probably heard your parents or grandparents say, well, water's the universal solvent. Well, actually, that's not completely true because oil and water don't mix. But it is true that you could take all of the liquids that you could find, and water will dissolve more substances than any other liquid. Now, this is important for blood because blood is about 51% water, and it has to dissolve lots of nutrients and other substances. Water is the only liquid that really meets the need for blood. The fourth property of water that we want to consider is what we call the triple point. Now, I'm sure that in conversation with your friends, triple point is something that never comes up. But I can show what triple point is. On the wall here, I went to Wikipedia and got a phase diagram for water. Pressure on this axis and temperature on this axis. And in the white here is water solid, that's ice. Up in this area, the bluish greenish area is water as a liquid, and then down in the orange area is water as a vapor. But there's one point here at which water exists simultaneously as a solid, a liquid, and a gas. And you're probably saying, no way, that can't be possible. Well, it is possible. And in fact, in 1971, when NASA sent Mariner 7 off to Mars, to collect data, they used the triple point of water to establish a sea level, and they used the triple point of water to confirm the absolute temperature scale of Kelvin. And these are just 4 of the wonders of water that we presented. And there's one other wonder of water that Chastity and I consider the biggest wonder of all. And this will be presented on the back side of our digital card, and that will come in a second video.